Yes, hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Nakatani versus Astrolabio fight. And so if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like if you do need like video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Nakatani is 27-0 with 20 KOs, and Astrolabio is 19-4 with 14 KOs. This fight is for the WBC World Bantamweight title. Nakatani's last fight was a win via TKO in round 6 versus Santiago, and Astrolabio's last fight was a win via TKO in round 11 versus Hat Nakana. This is in Nakatani's home country of Japan. Nakatani is a southpaw. Astrolabio's losses have come versus Maloney in 2023, He in 2018, and Kobayashi in 2018, and Apollinario in 2017. And to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying, like I said, this WBC title in which Nakatani holds yet again being on the line. He's coming off the back of a very, very impressive defence against it after, I believe he won it versus Maloney last year, and he's coming off a great year, to be completely honest. I mean, he's definitely got a lot of momentum with him now, and it's going to be really exciting to see how he progresses. And now he's got this top rank backing, and all eyes on him. He's seemingly getting a lot more recognition as an elite fighter at the moment, and with this bantamweight division, it's got entertaining fights around there. I think, like I say, with Top Rank putting these lower weight divisions on the map, they're creating big names, and I think the likes of course, the Inoue brothers, Takai as well, Olaskuga, Kano, which is also on this card, Tanaka, who's meant to be on this card. These lower weight divisions are definitely getting more eyes on them, and I'm so here for it. These Japanese cards, these Japanese fighters are really delivering at the moment, and like I say, Nakatani coming off a very destructive performance versus Santiago, in which a lot of people didn't really expect to be quite so one-sided. Of course, Santiago was coming off a great win versus Donaire, and thought that perhaps he could be a tough test for Nakatani and could be durable and be able to deal with the power in which Nakatani holds, but he just couldn't, and that's full credit to Nakatani and the ability in which he has. And I mean, recent performance-wise, since this step up to world level, he's looked more powerful than ever and looked more dominant than ever. And I mean, before that Santiago fight, of course, the Maloney fight as well, which was a massive knockout where, last round, all kind of expectations are for it to go to the judges. And of course, Maloney, knowing he was down, probably did go and throw things a bit more aggressive wise to the fire, and he got caught, but he got caught bad, and Nakatani caught him good. And so full credit to him. That was very impressive of a stoppage. But like I say, since then, since world level, he's been excellent. And Astrolabio is going to be an interesting test. It's an interesting fight to be made. Perhaps it was just to make sure that Nakatani was keeping relatively active and out fighting again this year. And so I don't hate this fight. I think Astrolabio is a creditable opponent. I mean, obviously he lost versus Maloney and did pretty much get outboxed against him, but nonetheless, I still believe, like I say, it's going to be against a creditable opponent. He's coming off a stoppage win himself against an opponent who had a very impressive record on paper. Obviously, I think it was just one of them occasions where you kind of see these type fighters come in and fighting a lot of guys that are just in their home country and just stat padding their record to an extent, and then being able to stake a claim for themselves at the top level, but then just not being able to deal with it when you actually face somebody who is at a high level. And I think he's definitely going to be a tough opposition for Nakatani. He's definitely somebody in which Nakatani shouldn't be underestimating, and he's also used to having a lot of eyes on his fights as to fighting on PBC and things like that in the past as well. This is in Nakatani's home country, like I say, of Japan. It's another huge event in Japan, and they're really creating a boxing fan base as well. And Nakatani, like I say, as a southpaw, is definitely going to create a different entity. But Astrolabio, like I say, picking off his losses. Obviously, it was a while ago, but he has lost stoppage-wise to an opponent who is a lot less, on paper, skilled than that of Nakatani. Also on this card, though, I mean, it was meant to be Tanaka versus Rodriguez, but of course Rodriguez weighed in 6.5 pounds overweight That is crazy. That should not be allowed anywhere. It shouldn't be allowed at all. And I mean, I would be not against kind of taking his like banning him for that, to be completely honest, because that's awful. That's so much, and of course that ruins the fight. And I think it could have been a good fight, that one. I was looking forward to that as well, and it was a really good card. Not to say it's not still now, with the likes of Nasakawa as well on this fight, on this card, who's really entertaining. I'm here to see how he progresses, but also the fight which I did want to speak about, Kano versus Olaskuga, for that vacant WBO World Flyweight title, which I think Olaskuga will win via TKO in round 6. Obviously, he had that fight versus uh, Taraji, and that was a bad defeat for him, to be completely honest. But he still looks good at times. He's still early on in his career, and he's been getting these opportunities early. But he put up a valiant effort. I think I do like the aggressive style he holds, but I also think the power since moving up to flyweight is something which will have improved a lot, and I think his punch resistance will have improved as well. And Kano, I don't believe, is as powerful as a puncher as that of Taraji, or is able to weigh you down quite as much as him. And I believe Kano is there to be hurt, and I think Olaskuga is going to be the aggressive nature in which he normally is, and therefore going to be able to get, like I say, a nice round 6 stoppage. And then going back to the main event to speak about Nakatani as a fighter. Of course, like I mentioned, he has that momentum with him, and momentum is so key in this sport. And obviously, it comes with more eyes on him, more pressure. But I feel like, so far he's been delivering to that. He's powerful, that's to say the least. He really turns into his punches nicely when he throws them. Perhaps they can look a little bit like arm punches at times, but the way he actually twists his knuckle into it is really impressive. He's got great body work. He lets his hands go. Excellent straight shots, which I really like to see. The lovely straight 1-2. He counters well. Like I say, power wise, he's been able to progress up the weight classes with the power progressing with him, and that's not always something that you see. There is normally a level in which fighters can get to a weight, and then the opponents can just kind of deal with the power in which they have. But so far, it's been a natural, nice progression, and the power, like I mentioned, has been going with that, and that's what you want to see. He's rangy, he works angles well, he's spiteful in his work, he works mid-range well, but also can fight nicely on the inside. He cuts off the ring well with them good straight shots of his. He's got very good punch variation. He closes the distance well. He is quite explosive when he wants to be in his work. He's, I think, good at stopping pressure as well. Santiago was putting pressure on him and perhaps was catching him with shots at times, but when Santiago was coming forward, Nakatani was able to counter nicely and was able to fight off the back foot. And it's not the cleanest of defensive movement that he has on footwork, but he is able to step back whilst throwing punches at the same time and still being able to land cleanly and have an effect. He's got very good timing as well, as shown through them. I mean, that Maloney stoppage itself, so it shows the great power, the great timing. I mean, in which he has. Negatives about him, like I say, he may be overlooking, and that's definitely something in which I don't believe you can really be F1 to do against somebody like an Astrolabio. He does get hit. His chin, in my opinion, hasn't really been tested too much, and I think Astrolabio does hit with power, and he's explosive, so he definitely could catch him. I think his chin's in the air, his head is on the line. It's quite a common little combination to have there. I think he can overreach sometimes with his shots. His shots can be quite wide at times. I believe he does drop his guard. That can come through perhaps overconfidence. He throws his shots quite often from the body instead of from the head, so it has a longer range of motion to have to come through, and perhaps that means it comes with more power, but at the same time it comes with, like I say, more of a predictable aspect of being able to see where the shot's coming from. He's not really too willing to go back on the back foot. He is able to, and he can fight well on it, but like I say, footwork wise, he just doesn't look too comfortable doing it, even though his footwork on the front foot does normally look quite good. To speak about Astrolabio as a fighter, like I say, he's explosive. I've seen that from him, and that's something in which Nakatani is definitely going to have to be wary of. He has solid movement. He hits with intent. He's a good counterer. He's one of them front foot type counterers who puts on the pressure, but like I say, is able to take a shot and then be able to counter back very nicely. And I've seen him do that on multiple occasions. He lets his hands go. In general, he's used to being the underdog and having that knowledge of what you need to do to be able to win as an away fighter is something which takes time to learn, and he brings the fight to you. Typically come forward, got quite a nice consistent jab. It's going to be interesting to see if Nakatani is able to keep him at a jab or not, because typically, like I've mentioned, Astrolabio can find his range well. He moves into his shots quite nicely. I believe when he throws a straight 1-2, he kind of steps in with that second punch nicely, and that's when perhaps more of that explosive power can come from. He's quite composed and he won't respect Nakatani's power. Of course, that could play against him, but at the same time, when you're against somebody who's got so much momentum, you can't really afford to respect him, and that's like I say, I don't believe he will be doing that. Negatives about him, of course, there's talk about him looking for the knockout too much. Against Maloney, I think he was really lining up on them punches, winding up on them punches for too long, and looking for the knockout. And just in general, that's why he got outboxed and outthrown, because he really was just waiting too long with the encounters. And there is times where in fights prior where he hasn't done that and looked really good, but yeah, I think he did look out for the knockout too much. I don't think he's willing to go on the back foot anywhere near as much in which Nakatani could or would be willing to. He doesn't really cut off the ring too well. He leaves his shots in, drops his guard, admires his work. Like I mentioned, been stopped against lesser opponents. I think his accuracy at times isn't as good as that of Nakatani's. He stands quite tall. He doesn't really have much defensive movement. I think he's slower, and his head is also on the line. I've seen him literally just take combinations of punches, just willingly stand there, not move a single muscle, and then respond back. And defensive wise, that is very poor, realistically. Nakatani is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Nakatani will win via TKO in round 7. I could believe it. I could see him wearing him down, going to the body, even with the straight shots being really nice, finding his range early with the mid-range, get him in the corner, then be able to, as soon as you push Astrolabio back, I think he's going to struggle and just not going to be able to deal with it on the rope. So it could even be an earlier stoppage in my opinion. But like I say, he's just going to have to deal with the explosive element, and perhaps early on in the earlier rounds having to see how you can counteract that. Then we could go on to fight next. Like I say, I believe these lower weight divisions have some great matchups at the moment. So, Takuma Inoue could be a great fight to be made. Top rank, putting these guys on the map. Why not put them against each other and go for unification fights? I feel like it's probably about time. If Nakatani wants to move up, of course, there's talks of him versus Inoue, of course. And, it seems like Inoue has a bit of a plan to go against Doheny, then Goodman. But perhaps there could be something that could stop that fight, and if anything's going to stop that fight, it would be that one, this one versus Nakatani, because it'd be a huge Japanese fight. We'll have to wait and see. If he doesn't want to go for Undisputed, next, Contreras is probably one of the best options left to WBC rankings wise. Or if he wants to go for one of the other belts holders, Takai or Nishida, IBF champion Nishida is a great option as well. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, like, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.